You are trading the irreplaceable hours of your finite existence for numbers on a digital screen, terrified that one market crash will erase your worth. Modern society has engineered an invisible cage of financial anxiety, forcing you to sprint tirelessly on a treadmill of perpetual debt and hollow consumption. But the ancient Stoics understood a dangerous truth about wealth. Money does not cure poverty, it merely changes its symptoms. In this video, you will discover the exact mental framework Seneca used to remain completely untethered to his immense riches, allowing you to conquer your modern financial panic forever.
To understand this remedy, we must look to Lucius Annaeus Seneca, a man who navigated the treacherous political waters of first-century Rome. Seneca was not a monk living in poverty. He was an imperial advisor and one of the wealthiest men in the entire Roman Empire. Yet, he lived under the constant, terrifying shadow of the erratic Emperor Nero. Seneca knew that at any unpredictable moment, a single imperial decree could strip him of his estates, his vast fortunes, and, inevitably, his freedom. He existed on a precipice where unimaginable wealth met unimaginable instability.
Surrounded by extreme opulence and the perpetual threat of absolute ruin, Seneca realized a profound psychological law. He observed that those clinging tightest to their gold were the ones suffocating under its weight. The Roman elite were perpetually terrified, their minds held hostage by the fear of losing their status. Seneca recognized that true poverty is not having too little, but desperately wanting more. He saw that financial anxiety is not a mathematics problem about bank accounts, but a philosophical crisis about attachment. Thus, he developed a radical practice to inoculate his mind against material loss. The foundation of the Stoic defense against financial dread is the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that we must relentlessly separate what is ours from what is not. Inflation rates, stock market fluctuations, corporate layoffs, and housing prices belong entirely to the unpredictable winds of fortune. They are external variables indifferent to your anxiety. When you bind your inner peace to the trajectory of a stock portfolio or the digits in a savings account, you surrender the sovereignty of your mind to chaos. You volunteer to be a slave to economic weather you cannot command. We mistakenly believe that acquiring more wealth will eventually purchase our peace of mind. We tell ourselves that just one more raise, one more successful investment, or one more safety net will finally extinguish the burning anxiety in our chests. But the Stoics viewed wealth as a wild beast. If you do not learn to tame your desires when you have little, having abundance will only give you more territory to defend. Financial peace is never achieved by hoarding external resources. It is solely cultivated by aggressively reducing your internal requirements. True wealth is self-sufficiency. Seneca practiced a deliberate exercise called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. While modern self-help gurus preach toxic positivity and manifesting riches, the Stoics practiced the exact opposite. They visualized total financial ruin. Seneca would intentionally set aside a few days each month to live on the cheapest food, wear rough, ragged clothing, and sleep on a hard floor. He did not do this to punish himself, but to look his deepest financial fears directly in the eye and ask, is this the condition that I have feared so intensely all along? By physically experiencing the absolute worst-case scenario, Seneca dismantled the psychological power of poverty. The terror of going broke is always worse in our imagination
than in reality. When you realize that you can survive, adapt, and even find moments of stillness with absolutely nothing in your pockets, the invisible chains of financial anxiety suddenly shatter. You stop making decisions based on the fear of scarcity. You stop tolerating a miserable career just to fund a lifestyle you do not even enjoy. You reclaim your autonomy from the tyrannical grip of money.
We must also examine our definition of ownership. The Stoics believed that you do not actually own your money, your car, or your home. You are merely renting these things from fortune, and the lease can be revoked without a moment's notice. Wealth is a preferred indifferent. It is acceptable to have it, but it is a catastrophic error to need it. If your identity is wrapped tightly around your net worth, a market crash will not just erase your funds, it will completely obliterate your sense of self and plunge you into despair. The relentless pursuit of wealth forces you to live constantly in the future, sacrificing the present moment for a delayed sanctuary that may never arrive. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that a man can only ever lose the present moment, for it is the only thing he truly possesses. Financial anxiety is the theft of today by the ghosts of tomorrow. When you are consumed by the fear of future ruin, you are failing to inhabit the life you are currently living. The Stoic anchors himself firmly in the immediate present, managing only what is right in front of him. Consider the immense cognitive load that financial anxiety demands. It drains your focus, saps your energy, and compromises your moral integrity. Men will compromise their deepest values, betray their friends, and destroy their own health merely to accumulate slightly more currency. But Epictetus would ask, at what price are you selling your tranquility? If you gain a fortune, but lose your character and your peace of mind, you have made a terrible transaction. True wealth is an unshakable character, a fortress of inner resilience that no economic depression can ever breach or diminish. To deploy this ancient wisdom in our hyper-connected modern world, you must fundamentally change your relationship with consumption. Start by practicing voluntary discomfort this week. Eat the simplest, cheapest meal you can prepare. Walk instead of driving. Wear your oldest, plainest clothes. Strip away the luxurious padding of your daily existence and observe your mind. You will quickly discover that the body requires very little to be sustained, and the soul requires absolutely nothing material to be content. This simple physical practice builds an impregnable psychological shield against the modern terror of economic collapse. Next, sever your emotional attachment to the uncontrollable metrics of wealth. Stop obsessively checking your bank balance, your investment portfolios, or your credit score. Once you have established a rational plan for your finances, step away from the noise. Understand that every time you refresh those numbers with a trembling hand, you are reinforcing the false belief that your safety is tied to external algorithms. Instead, invest your primary energy into cultivating skills, wisdom, and resilience. These are the only true assets that cannot be inflated away, taxed by the government, or stolen by thieves. Finally, practice the art of negative visualization regarding your current lifestyle. Look around your home and acknowledge that every single item you own is temporary. Mentally practice losing your job, losing your home, and starting over from absolute zero. If you systematically trace your fear down to its roots, you will find that the monster hiding in the dark is quite small. You have survived every bad day of your life thus far. Your mind is an adaptable survival mechanism. You are entirely capable of finding meaning and purpose even in the depths of financial ruin. There is a powerful historical account of Zeno of Citium, the very founder of the Stoic school. Before he was a philosopher, Zeno was a very wealthy merchant who traded rare purple dyes. He had invested his entire fortune into a massive cargo shipment. During a treacherous voyage, a brutal storm struck the sea, and his ship was entirely destroyed. In a single, devastating moment, Zeno lost everything he had ever worked for. He was violently thrown from the peak of extreme wealth to the absolute bottom of poverty, stranded with nothing but his own breath.
But Zeno did not collapse into despair. He did not curse the gods or surrender to the crushing weight of financial anxiety. Instead, he made his way to Athens, walked into a bookstore, and discovered the teachings of Socrates. Reflecting upon his devastating loss, Zeno famously declared, "Fortune has smiled upon me, for she has driven me to the study of philosophy." He realized that the destruction of his material wealth was the exact catalyst required to build his invincible inner wealth. The storm did not ruin his life. It freed him from the burden of his cargo. The exact technique Seneca used to remain stress-free amid a crumbling empire was the realization that true wealth is not the abundance of possessions, but the poverty of desires. If you practice voluntary discomfort and mentally prepare for ruin, you strip fortune of its power to terrorize you. You no longer need the market to stay green to feel secure. The economy will crash, jobs will vanish, and fortunes will inevitably burn. But when you build your foundation upon unshakable character rather than fragile currency, you become entirely untouchable. Master your desires, and you will forever master your wealth.